Thank you for joining us today as we look at Skills Rich Future Forward Insights from the NAWB's Community of Practice, funded by Walmart.org. We have had an exciting 9 months working with the volunteers who came to us, member boards in 5 states. And the states featured are Arizona, Alabama, Colorado, Illinois, and Idaho. Today's guests are from Colorado, Idaho, and Illinois. Amazing work is being done out here, hoping to raise the bar on how workforce boards use this to affect change, put more people in employment and more people retaining those jobs by judging skills, not just credential. I'm Laurie Boyan-Larea, Senior Advisor for NAWB. Happy to host this with you today. Our guests are Jessica Majorca, Taylor Stump, Sarah Epsler, Jeffrey Hubert, and Jennifer Serino. These people have put in a lot of time, as well as our other panelists, other members of the community of practice. They have done a great job. At the end, we'll talk about everyone who's been a part of the community of practice and our advisory committee in this work. I'm going to start with an introduction on Jessica. Colorado, adopting skills-rich strategies for workforce. Colorado has done a statewide initiative, much like Alabama, and they have so many partners involved. It's quite impressive, and Jessica is going to tell us a lot about what they've done. Jessica is the senior consultant for WIOA and policy innovation at the Colorado Workforce Development Council. She is a seasoned professional with 20 plus years of experience in civil and labor rights for nonprofits, developing economies. Extensive experience with programs and project management focused on equitable outcomes. She has a deep understanding of existing, new, and proposed economic and labor law at the local and federal levels, continually exceeding expectations by creating valuable partnerships. She works well with people at all levels, including stakeholders, customers, vendors, and team members. We thank Jessica and realize she knows a lot about skills. She defines her work in terms of the skills, and I think that goes a long way. We had a bit of technical difficulty at this time. There was a Wi-Fi outage. We will join Jessica with her presentation in progress. Thank you.
To understand what were you all doing, what were you learning about where you needed to pivot and what you succeeded at in terms of how to advance skills first approaches, even down to how you approach selection of certain vendors. I mean, so really very pragmatic in nature, our desire to be part of this community of practice. And then of course, there's a little bit of friendly competition. We want to be one of the best. And I say that because we want to share and be part of just continually exceeding expectations for Coloradans. And so we do that by sort of challenging ourselves and learning from other people as well. And then finally, I would just say there's something very comforting about being part of a community of practice of people who, didn't necessarily take their respective positions thinking that they were going to be doing this work. I don't know how many of you have been in positions or are currently in positions where something falls on your plate and you're just like, how do I figure this out? And I think that is sort of the nature of public sector work. And part of the excitement of it, I think, the potential of doing something really well. And so there's also then that comfort of talking with other people and saying, so did you also experience this? How did you even approach this? So that was the value add for the community of practice for us. So we can go to the next slide, and I will go into the details of how we've been focusing on skills first practices. First of all, we knew that we needed to get the investment and buy-in of our employers, right? If the employers themselves are not interested in skills first practices, it doesn't matter how much job seekers want to talk about their skills. there will not be an interest or a demand, so to speak, for talking about skills. And so we really focused through our sector partnerships, through different industry collaboratives, through various business collaboratives throughout the state to socialize and see this idea. This has been many years in the process. In addition, some of you may know that our governor a few years ago issued an executive order saying that the state itself would be removing degree requirements where possible and focusing on skills first hiring. So, not even talking about skills-based advancement, but just talking about the hiring process. So that sort of got things started. So we had some political capital to move us forward a bit. But then we had to talk with other employers. And so these are some of the employers, and I understand that some of these slides may be emailed out. But these are some of the employers that we have worked with to say, how did you implement skills first practices, whether it was in the interview process, the recruitment process, the hiring process, the advancement process, and what was it like? And be honest with us, did it work? Did it not? Where did you have to pivot? And we asked them in part because we wanted to just understand what their experience was like, but also, as you can imagine, we want them to eventually share these experiences with other employers. When I speak with various workforce boards, because I work for CWDC, and CWDC is our state's workforce board. When I'm talking with these workforce boards, the employers on those boards want to know, well, okay, but how did they actually implement these programs? It's great that you're spotlighting them as employers who have utilized skills first practices, but how did they do it? They want to get into those nitty-gritty conversations. So by highlighting and spotlighting these employers, we're also able to then say, okay, so let's talk about what happened, and sometimes there were mistakes and organizations had to pivot. There are ways in which some of these organizations still are looking to grow, but the idea is to learn from each other. So in a way, our own sort of employer community of practice. Well, if we go to the next slide, we can also go into some more of the public workforce side. So I talked about our employers. We also needed endorsement and buy-in and utilization from our public workforce. So we have several different workforce areas. And not only did we want to engage the staff, so the business services, the career services, we also wanted to engage the boards because the boards also represent employers themselves. So we started working with them on a project through Skills Forward, which some of you may be familiar with. It was focused on LERs, learning and employment records. And we were focused on learning and employment records essentially being a means to an end. Ultimately, our focus is, as a state, to advance skills first practices. If digital records can help do that, great. And so we partnered with two of our workforce areas, Pikes Peak Workforce Center and Workforce Boulder County, to see if we could work with staff to go through the process of looking at skills, identifying skills, looking at how they might be validated, measured, and then to see whether or not we could use learning and employment records to as a way to communicate those items. We also statewide have essentially a group of business services staff from the different workforce areas. They come together, focus on different elements, and they, on their own volition, created a Skills First Talent Strategies Task Force. So that business services Skills First Task Force has really worked with employers to say, here are some of the advantages of skills first strategies. And we're hoping, of course, to share the case studies that were on that previous slide as a tool. And then, of course, there's also the career services equivalent. And we're still in process of really sort of integrating skills first practices into their work. So I would also, just as a side note, be really curious to hear what other states have done with regards to engaging career services staff. We do know that some of our workforce areas really do focus on surfacing the skills of job seekers who come in, but there's always an opportunity to learn. So that was our engagement, in part some of our Colorado public workforce. And then if we go to the next slide, we decided to do something different also with our public workforce system. So we know that there were varying degrees of use and encouraging employers and job seekers to use skills as a language to talk with each other. And so what we did was, for our boards, was to say we are going to implement a challenge. And we implemented a challenge using the support from Skills Forward, which is a consortium of funders that includes Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. And we issued a challenge saying, look, can you, as workforce boards, so not the staff, but the boards, can you look at how to better integrate skills first practices, or the encouragement, encouraging use of skills first practices into your policy? And then see also if there's any appetite and or utility in using learning and employment records. And so we issued this challenge. We attached some funding to it. And of our 10 workforce boards, we had 8 workforce boards submit plans for how they would advance skills first practices and potentially use learning and employment records. We reviewed the submissions, and we are seeking to disperse about $67,000 to support the initiatives of our local workforce boards who said, yeah, we would be interested, and we just need a little bit of support to do so. And so that just finished last month. So next slide, please. So we also wanted to highlight some of the work that our individual board members are doing. So I know this is a bit of a long quote, but as we were encouraging our workforce boards as individual boards to advance skills first practices, not only within their individual and respective employers, or they represent nonprofits, for-profits, various entities. We wanted to see, essentially, like, can we walk the talk? And so some of the board members at our last, essentially, convening, we had some board members from workforce centers highlighted, but we also highlighted the work of our statewide workforce board. And this is an example of one of the board members who said, we posted a position. We didn't use our typical approach in terms of having requirements. They focused on skills. They hired a person who had the least impressive formal credentials, but numerous transferable skills on her resume, and she's doing an awesome job so far. So they're only 1 month into the hiring. But I wanted to highlight this because I think what it really says a lot about this board members organization is that they were willing to try something new. And I think we all know, in our respective organizations and the organizations we speak with, sometimes that can be very difficult to do, just to initiate and encourage that change. So this is an example of somebody who, within their organization, focused on using skills first job postings, and this was the result. But we can go to the next slide. I also mentioned earlier that we were focused on exploring learning and employment records as a way to further skills first practices. So this is the digital wallet that we created, and the app essentially that we created that could help learners within our state sort of take any learning and employment experience that they have, attach skills to those, and then be able to transmit those experiences to employers. Let's say they're applying for a job, and they want to transmit that they have, several learning experiences, whether those were through an educational institution or through a training provider, it doesn't matter. They can take each of those experiences, and what we want to do ultimately is to attach skills to them so that when they send essentially their digital resume that contains all of these learning and employment experiences and their respective skills that they've acquired through those experiences, when an employer receives that, they essentially receive a comprehensive skills portfolio for that job candidate. And again, because we want to encourage at the state that the labor market use the language of skills, this is just a means to an end. This is a way for people to surface their skills that frankly they may not even know that they had. And it's also a way for employers on the recipient side to be encouraged to use skills and to really just focus on the skills. So if a degree or some sort of credential is required, great. In many cases, however, though, people acquire skills through different experiences that are still valid and still useful to a particular job, even if they didn't get it through the standard or historically acceptable way that other job candidates have acquired those skills. And so this is just giving you sort of wireframes, which are just, in other words, screenshots from what a given credential would look like, so that when a user is using this, they could say, okay, I have this credential and these are all the skills attached to it. And then they can choose and select which credentials to send over to a potential employer. So it's currently what we're working through and seeking to demonstrate. And then we can go to the next slide, which is the final slide that I'll present to you all. As you can imagine, when a project sort of drops on your lap, which is probably, again, happened to many of you, you start to work on it and then you realize there are many layers that need to be peeled of that onion. So we started this project of looking at the language of skills, looking at how do we encourage employers to utilize skills, how do we encourage our workforce boards and our staff to talk with job seekers and employers about utilizing skills. Then we also had to take a look at ourselves as a state ecosystem. How are we supporting and encouraging that use? And the truth of the matter is, we have some great platforms. We have ones that aren't great. Underneath those platforms, however, are very few data connections where we can transmit skills across multiple platforms. So I won't go into all the platforms that are on this slide, but I wanted to highlight that this was a moment of self-reflection that Colorado has been engaged in for some time now, and we're starting to take further and further strides with it, which is how do we make sure that our platforms, especially those that are interacted with by job seekers and employers, how do we make sure that those platforms have a connection underneath them so that information such as skills can be transmitted across those platforms, but also so that they can be utilized by the state in terms of looking at what skills are in demand. What skills did we think were in demand but actually aren't? Can we break it down by industry? And that really requires an underlying data infrastructure and platform interoperability that we haven't really thought of as deeply as before, or at least I should say, rather, I hadn't thought of. I'm sure other people have to different degrees, but we really need a sort of collaborative, sort of concerted effort across multiple state agencies to look at our platforms and to say, what information, what data are we sharing across them? Do any of those include, as of course, skills information? And how do we make sure that our platforms are interoperable and that we can share data across them? So that's, I will say, is where we are now. We continue to work on all of the elements that I've mentioned in each of these slides. And it is something that we've been encouraged to do in part by attending the community of practice, because some of you have been doing work that we said to ourselves, we hadn't thought about that. We should really explore that. So thank you for your time. I hope this was helpful to you.
Thank you, Jessica. Oh, that was wonderful. So sorry. Somebody's calling. They want to be on this call. I'm going to switch to Illinois. we can get Illinois done because Illinois sent us 3 spokespersons. Yay, go Illinois. Okay, thank you, Kelly. Kelly Page, and I'll introduce you guys to Kelly in a bit. Kelly's going to help us out. All right, Lake County, Illinois. If you would go to the next slide for me, Connie. There we are. We've got Sarah, Jeff, and Jennifer. And I'm going to do a quick intro on all 3 of them, and then I will let them pick up how they want to proceed with this. Some great information and a lot of hard work came out of Lake County. They also were greatly participative in this whole effort and contributed a lot to the project. Let's start with Sarah. Sarah, apprenticeship specialist. Boy, you just got that in time for all the attention to apprenticeship, right? She's been involved in apprenticeship for 3 years. In that position, she serves as in the business service team, workforce development, educating employers on the benefits of registered apprenticeships, concierge service to build a registered apprenticeship program from start to finish. Serving under the business service team in workforce development, she educates employers and the benefits of registered apprenticeship concierge service. She was before that an account executive in the program. She's been at this quite a while. We appreciate your presence today, Sarah. And we're going to talk about Jeff real quick. Jeff also is business service account executive, workforce development, Department of Business. He assists Lake County employers with customizing training solutions to retain a viable, developed, and skilled workforce in Lake County. He assists Lake County employers in solutions that retain those employees. Previously a sector specialist with my heart, Jeff. I love sector strategies. That's one of the things got me in this business. Helping employers by sector is a really formidable thing, and I think it's fallen out of fashion and will be back. Finding common cause between either the location of those employers or the common skills of those employers or the common industry. And last but not least, we have Jennifer Serino. Jennifer is the Executive Director of Workforce Development Department at Lake County. She leads a collaborative with community and business stakeholders to create and implement innovative workforce solutions. Bless you for innovation. Over 36 years of experience. No way you've done this 36 years. I'm done. I'm into 48 now, but man, it takes endurance. We are those who can stay. Experience in nonprofit leadership, finance with a strong track record of relationship building, workforce board management, report and grant writing, grants administration, business management, and organizational development. And again, these people understand skills and they describe themselves not only as professionals, but telling us the skills that it takes to do those jobs. Thank you 3 for being with us today. I'll go to next slide and I will turn it over to whoever's leading off.
Hi, everyone. As stated, my name is Jeff Hubert. I am the business service manager now. So not only have I moved from sector specialist to account executive to account executive lead, now I lead out the team here in our business service department. So thank you again for joining us today. And we want to start out by telling you how important it is for our business service team to get our messaging right. So we're going to talk a little bit about our value proposition statement that we use when we meet and build relationships with businesses. Our business services value proposition shows how we put the skills first initiative into action here in Lake County. The business service team plays a vital role in connecting talent to opportunity by focusing on skills, not just credentials. We start with workforce solutions. Under this pillar, we help employers transition from traditional degrees-based requirements to skills-based job descriptions, ensuring they accurately reflect the competencies required for success in the role. We support them by posting opportunities on our Hire Lake County job board, planning customized hiring events, and providing real-time labor market insights that guide their workforce strategies. This ensures that businesses aren't just filling jobs, they're building a pipeline of skilled workforce talent. In fact, our Hire Lake County Job Fair last Thursday gave us an opportunity to connect with 92 employers where we had 782 job seekers join us. So what a fabulous event to continue that discussion. The second pillar is workforce training. We focus on giving individuals access to experience and skills development, credentials, and workplace experiences through our work, earn, and learn model. That includes paid internships, on-the-job training, which also includes pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeships, and of course, incumbent worker training programs that we have. These career pathway models make advancement possible without requiring additional degrees. These programs are particularly impactful for dislocated workers and underserved communities because they create a direct bridge to good jobs and long-term career opportunities. And the third pillar is our workforce ecosystem. We don't do this work alone. And at the ecosystem level, we operate as a strategic connector, bringing together employers, educational partners, and industry sectors to map out a plan and foster unified referral network. We share these best practices and ensure aligned efforts across the region. Our referral system connects our partners like the College of Lake County, our chambers of commerce, industry groups, and community-based organizations. By continuously engaging and sharing these best practices, we keep the system aligned and demand-driven. This network effect is what makes our approach scalable and sustainable, which is important. This is how we ensure that the skills-first approach isn't just a concept. It's embedded in how we serve employers and grow our talent pipeline. Next slide, please. One of our most powerful ways we strengthen these three pillars is through labor market information and tools. A critical part of operationalizing skills-first hiring is making data-driven decisions. Our business engagement is data-driven. We work with employers to understand which skills and competencies are most relevant to their industry and help craft that terminology that best aligns with actual job performance. We bring these employers insights on current hiring activities, prevailing trends, and future growth sectors so they can make better workforce decisions. We also help them identify which skills are most critical for a given role and ensure that terminology they use is in job description match what job seekers understand. That's important, that the job seeker understand what they're looking for when they look at a job description. That makes recruitment clearer, more inclusive, and ultimately more effective. The data we use is publicly available, but we go further by helping employers and partners interpret it and apply it. For example, we can show how a shift in hiring trends signals the need for new training programs, or how wage data influences retention strategies. And because our focus is on acquisition and training, this information allows us to align the skills that individuals are developing with the skills employers are hiring for, not just today, but in the future economy. Through our ecosystem, we have built a relationship with training providers. So we take this data to them so they can create a roadmap that creates access for our employers and job seekers, that meets them where they're at and gets them to where they want to be, which is very important for both. In short, our business services value proposition, combined with real-time labor market intelligence, creates a feedback loop. We use data to connect the dots between job seekers, capabilities, and employer needs, ensuring the skills-first model is both strategic and sustainable. There it is again, sustainable. Now let's toss it to Sarah to see how the work, earn, and learn model has led to some successes. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Jeff. It is my pleasure to talk about our first example of skills-first training with BCU. This local credit union, BCU, has partnered with us in our work, earn, and learn model. We have been able to sit down and really work on the job description with BCU when they needed to build their workforce. The Work, Earn, and Learn program gave them an opportunity to look at some new candidates, find talent in areas they may not have looked before. And when we removed the degree requirement from their job description, we were able to really focus on a lot of the transferable skills that someone would need to gain an entry level into the finance industry. We had applicants bring in resumes, and staff reviewed those resumes to make sure that they were really highlighting all the skills that they had from their work experiences and education. We helped prepare them for the interview. And then BCU went ahead and interviewed. They made their selection, and we used our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grant funds to pay for 6 months of internships for a cohort of 3 individuals. This last cohort was so successful. They really showed the example of what skills first training can do. This employer took the time to provide mentorship to each individual, really focus on the job learning, ensuring that the skills they gained during this paid internship would help them land a permanent position. So all 3 were offered direct hire opportunities, and I have a video I would love to share with you to highlight their success. If we could play the video at the bottom. And I don't have volume yet. Can we check for sound?
You know, it worked
Train
perfectly.
individuals that are ready to step into
There it
those
is.
roles on day.
Third time's a charm.
The WELL program has been phenomenal to help us recruit talent. We benefit as the employer by making sure that when we do have openings that come up, we have qualified, trained individuals that are ready to step into those roles on day 1. So what it's allowed us to do is really cultivate and create a pipeline of talent for individuals who might not otherwise have a chance. The WELL program allows us to provide training for them, and it also gives them an opportunity to see if they like BCU and if BCU likes them. And if so, when we have these openings come available, they can move right into the role. After 6 months that the program ends, these individuals are more qualified, more capable, and have an opportunity to step into other roles if there isn't an opportunity here at BCU.
It's been a pleasure partnering with BCU on our Work, Earn, and Learn initiative. This program is funded through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act grant funds, and it allows us to pay 100% of the wages while job seekers learn on the job and earn income and learn new skills. This initiative has allowed us to help feed the pipeline for local employers in Lake County. In partnering with BCU over the last 2 years, we've been happy to see 3 employees hired directly by the employer after their successful Work, Earn, and Learn program.
I love the Work, Earn, and Learn program is because it opens these individuals' eyes to a new career path. A lot of people grow up saying they want to be a doctor or a teacher, but I've never met anybody that wants to be a teller or a branch manager. So this program has really provided the opportunity to show a different new career path that has a strong growth path.
The representative I was working with in the WELL program, she helped me practice for my interview. They really helped support me by showing me the things that I need to do to best help our members, because I've never been in the financial industry before. So they guided me to show how do we do it here in BCU. I would say take the leap, because I was able to find this great opportunity with BCU.
I'm currently taking a gap year from college, and I needed to find a job or internship that I could apply to. Eventually, I found one with BCU, and I'm quite happy about that. I found the program actually by complete luck, and I found a flyer online, so I decided to apply for it. I had no customer service skills, so I had to find a way to develop that customer service voice, and thankfully, I was able to work on that, and I finally have found my way when it comes to helping members out. I definitely do know more than I did 6 months ago.
So the challenge I faced before entering into the WELL program was finding a job that would accept someone that's also a student. Some skills that I would say were approved on would be speech. I used to be like a quiet speaker, but ever since all the interactions I had with all the members, it helped improve upon all of that. Before the WELL program, my career goals was to be a psychologist, but the program has fired up that even more in seeing how much I've loved to like help people, seeing a smile go on their face as they walk out of branches.
So what this program has helped us with, I would say, is it teaches individuals on team building skills, research resolution. It helps develop them professionally and teaches them a lot about the financial industry. A lot of our candidates stay with us long term because of the opportunities that BCU has to offer, whether it be career development or tuition reimbursement, which would help them in their career later on.
Working with workforce development has been phenomenal. We talked about what their goals were, what BCU's goals were, and they seem to be in alignment where we cared about people, we cared about helping the community, and we wanted to give individuals a pathway to career. We've gained more than we've given with the amount of talent that we've been able to bring in and cultivate. I would encourage any business to take advantage of an apprenticeship model like the Work, Earn, and Learn program.
Thank you for that. It's so good to see their faces again. I worked with each one of those awesome individuals. All right, next slide, please. Another champion employer in skills first training is Domney Tool. Domney Tool and Stamping Company is a local manufacturer making metal stamping and machined components. They really have been a driving force in this initiative. Domney Tool believes in skills first training because they've seen the success. They have used every single work-based learning program, from paid internships to on-the-job training contracts, and most recently in the last year, a registered apprenticeship. They have utilized our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Grant funds to help support the paid internships, go directly with the same candidate into an on-the-job hiring contract that leads them into that apprenticeship. They can speak to their fellow businesses and at the manufacturing alliances in different industries now about the success of their skills first training. And it really helps promote that learning on the job and taking chances with people when you can see that they have the skills there, maybe just not all the different educational background that you're looking for, can make a great workforce. So we've been very happy with the success with Domney Tool. And as a champion, we highlight them as often as possible. On this slide, you can see they were nominated and received the 2023 IWIB Business Leadership Award from DCEO. Pictured there is the president of Domney Tool and Stamping, Steve Smith, along with Deputy Director Julio Rodriguez. It was just a great moment to highlight their support and show the industry and all of workforce what a leader they have been in skills first training. Next, I'm going to pass it to Jennifer to talk about partnerships.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jeff. By no means does my team need me to, wrap up the discussion, but I want to bring it from the perspective of Workforce Board. I want to echo what Jessica said at the very beginning, the importance of being part of a community of practice and why we became part of the community of practice. It's to engage with our colleagues. It's to learn from our colleagues. It's to bring those promising practices back into Lake County and test them out, and then share the successes back with our colleagues. It has given to our board, our workforce board, and our community partners a way to engage at a different level. When we joined the community of practice, the Skills First Hiring Community of Practice, we didn't do it alone, as was the lead out. We brought together our community college, we brought together our K-12 system, private sector board member, as well as our labor and apprenticeship representative to really fill out that community of practice, learn from one another, and elevate what we're bringing back to Lake County. This is a very busy slide with a bunch of different logos, and that's done on purpose because we don't do it alone. And it is a very busy initiative to carry forward in workforce development to develop those partnerships and those collaboratives. Really quick, working with our K-12 system, there's multiple levels with Skills First that we engage with employers, private sector, and our high schools. Career pathway endorsements. Our high schools throughout the state of Illinois each have a career pathway endorsement, at least one in their high school. And what is imperative about that endorsement is that externship or that internship that individual, that student must complete to get the credit for that endorsement. Part of that endorsement is also dual credits through the community college. So you see where that partnership all comes together, private sector, K-12, community college. The Give Me 10 internship model is a way to engage with the business. It's to talk about not just bringing a young person into the workplace, it's identifying those skills that that high school student can learn within 10 hours. That's what we're asking an employer for, 10 hours of your time. And if that high school student is a match and you're a match and they're gaining those skills that have been set out in 10 hours, then we're going to give them another 60 hours for that internship. So the Give Me 10 model is that point of entrance to engage employers and high school students to gain some initial skills in the workplace. And School Links is a tool. It's a tool that our Regional Office of Education through Lake County has brought into every high school. And that is where we do the matching. The employer puts their information in, their skill sets that they're looking for not only that job they're hiring for, but occupations in their workplace. And high school students are entering their skills into this system. And then there's matches happening. And not only matches for internships, but as we continue to grow this, it's going to be matches for summer employment. College of Lake County, our community college here, we work together around a manufacturing alliance, talk about a sector strategy. All manufacturers, Domini Tools that we spoke about, they're one of the leaders in manufacturing alliance. What are the skills we need as a manufacturing community, and how do we collectively work together to gain those skills and lean into one another? And then work closely with credentialing. When we have within the community employers that need a certain credential, a certain skill set, we bring the community college together with that community member, with that employer, with that municipality to grow that program around the skills and the credentialing. So those are short-term certificate-based programming. And then, of course, we work closely with our registered apprenticeship programs and labor and trade organizations. What we have done successfully is bring them into the high schools to talk with the high school students about what skills you need to be focusing on while you're in that class. Why are you taking a history class? What skills are you going to learn there that's going to better prepare you to apply for an apprenticeship program? And then they do it for the underserved adult population. As a whole, our collaboratives are all coming together and ensuring that the right skills are matching with the jobs throughout Lake County. Can you go to the next slide, please? And so how we wrap this up with employers in Lake County, we talk about a people first hiring initiative, not just a skills first, but a people first hiring initiative. So leading out with the individuals, and that links back to creating a culture of equitable prosperity and economic mobility. And that is one of the key imperatives of the Workforce Board. And that's why we lean heavily not only on workforce development, Job Center of Lake County, but all of our partners to get that accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Apologies for sliding around a bit. I think we're good here. All right. I love the Lake County story. This is very impressive. We've already gotten things in the chat. Both of our groups today have really lit up people's imagination about skills, and they find that there are nuggets in this, which I love that comment. I think we're going to go back and see if Dr. Kelly Page from LWYL Studio LLC can assist us with posting the right video this time. Connie, take us back if you would. There we go. Taylor, Special Projects Coordinator. Taylor is the coordinator in the Career Technical Education. She is a dedicated educational professional who has served the state of Idaho since 2016 with over 7 years in the Idaho Division of Career Tech Education. She currently holds the role of Special Projects Coordinator. This role, Taylor leads agency-wide initiatives and supports strategic planning, project management, stakeholder engagement, with a strong background in project leadership. Taylor's passionate about building partnerships that expand access to education and improve outcomes across Idaho. She brings a grounded, real-world perspective to every conversation, especially when focused on creating equitable, practical solutions for learners, educators, workforce partners, and communities. Taylor is currently pursuing a degree at Boise State University. Outside of work, you'll find her camping with her family, exploring local restaurants, or cheering on her 10-year-old son from the sidelines. Thank you so much. Now we'll load the video.
Let me know that you can see and hear this.
So far, so good, dear. We're good. Thank you so much, Taylor, for making time for us. I know it wasn't convenient for the day of the event, but you are so wonderful to make time for us and talk to us about what has gone on. And I so enjoy being a part of community practice, talking with you, learning a little more about Idaho. Talk to me about Idaho. Give us the intro as to what goes on in Idaho when it comes to skills.
Absolutely. So my name's Taylor, and I am the Special Projects Coordinator at the Division of Career Technical Education. And I'm so excited to be here. So in Idaho, we have been talking about skills first strategy and have such an intentional way that we like to connect our education with our workforce needs. All of our state agencies work really closely together to make sure that we're presenting a strategy that's got the best outcomes for our learners as well as our employers. And so it was so valuable to be a part of this community of practice where we got to be in the room with all of these people talking about workforce and education and how we better this. As a state in Idaho, we're really excited to embrace skills first and really look at how we can intentionally bring that to the forefront and really show the value to our learners, our employers, as well as our educators and our education system.
You've been at this a little longer, perhaps, than some of the novices at skills, and I think our audience would like to hear a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, of course. So in Idaho, we started with a micro-credentialing platform in 2016 called SkillStack. And that is a platform that allows Idaho's educators to validate specific skills in career technical programs. And we've since expanded outside of career technical to more that showcases how their learners demonstrate proficiency in those different skills. And then each of those skills are awarded and add up to become a verifiable, stackable, and portable digital badge. And that's issued to students. And so we're really excited to have that kind of starting this journey for us in Idaho and how we can bring together a large group of stakeholders and feedback to enhance our digital credential strategy. And so now we've got our learning and employment records that we've been exploring since 2022. We've hosted a couple of educational awareness summits on what that means and what that would look like for a statewide approach. And in those summits, we've gathered folks from the secondary world, from K-12, from higher ed, as well as state agencies and administrators, just to talk about how we can really bring this back to the skills and what lives at the heart of moving someone through this system of learning and work, and how they really showcase what they can do to benefit themselves and their employers.
It's amazing. Talk a little bit, anybody resisting? You mentioned so many partners. Everybody's finding value in the process, because you're doing a statewide situation, and that's unusual. Colorado's doing a similar. But any resistance or any suggestions that this doesn't work?
Great question. So I think really we haven't had a ton of resistance yet because we haven't formally implemented an entire robust system. We have a little bit of pieces here and there. We've got our SkillStack platform. We've got Idaho launch being done. We're exploring this, and we're more just at this awareness stage and making sure that we gather that feedback so that we don't run into that resistance. Some of the key points that we've had focus points on is the technology platforms and security, and how that would play into this to ensure that all of the data that's being captured is safe and secure and validated. So I think those are some of those primary concerns that are rising to the top. And I think we're making progress on moving forward.
That's wonderful. Now you are not with the workforce board per se, you're with education, but talk to us about how you've involved the workforce system, the workforce boards.
Absolutely. So I'm with the Division of Career Technical Education, and so we focus on that employer piece. So there's such a natural connection between our workforce partners. Our statewide Workforce Development Council is a great partner. We partner with them on a lot of different initiatives and projects, and they are nearly always at the table when we're talking to employers and bringing in employers on how we're able to bring that workforce employer side into the classroom and into the institutions to develop programs that are preparing students for exactly what the employers are wanting. And so it's really just a lot of back and forth communication and checking in with each other and being collaborative as a state across those workforce and education lines, and really just working together.
That's fantastic. That cooperative spirit goes a long way, a long way. You have other partners in the system, and you're also looking at skill strategy. You have a master plan at the state.
Absolutely.
Tell others about that, because I think that's so beneficial to how does this actually get off the ground? If every city did their own thing, I don't think it would have the gravitas that you guys have with your system. So talk about that for us.
Of course. So in Idaho, our statewide system is robust. We really value what things look like from the ground up for Idahoans. And so we have this unique opportunity to come in and find out what employers in Idaho are needing, what learners in Idaho are needing, and how we can take that and kind of mold our skills strategy into what will be the best outcome for our folks in Idaho, which consists of a lot of rural information, like rural folks, people from smaller areas. We've got a lot of diverse industries. And so we take information from all of those industries to really see how we can connect the dots with all of them. And then I think also just really focusing on the individual as at the root, and then allowing them to move through this system and have these ways that they can come in and out of our education and workforce system by demonstrating what they can do and what their skills are, what their skill sets are. So I think as we look forward to hopefully bringing more strategy into this and really diving deeper than some of those surface level informational pieces, we can be really intentional and mindful about each individual, but also serving Idaho as a whole.
Your energy is contagious. And I picked up on that during all of the mini calls for the community of practice. You might tell the group, what did you gain by being a partner in the NAWB Community of Practice for Skills, funded by Walmart.org? I give them chalks here. What did you get from that experience?
Absolutely. That community of practice was so valuable to me. I think first, because I'm not innately part of that workforce board area, it was eye-opening to be a part of some of those conversations, and to bring questions and have questions brought to me about the education system and how we all work together. There were so many really good conversations and networking opportunities in the community of practice for this last year. and I'm super excited to keep those moving. And then one of the most valuable things was actually a skills first implementation strategic plan. So it was a whole template that we were given, and we were able to walk through different pieces that included some journey mapping and developing personas, identifying barriers. And we kind of collaborated all of that together in a way that we can package this skills first movement and how we move it forward in a really easy to digest way for someone who's just now coming into this work, or maybe is just getting started and needs to know about, okay, what are some of the things that are crucial to be done now? What does our timeline look like? So that template alone was one of the most valuable things for me personally.
So glad to hear it. Probably make best use of the time. We need to talk about where Idaho goes next. And you do have Idaho launch.
Yes, we
Give us a
do.
little snapshot of what's in the future for Idaho and skills, the big topic.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's a lot coming up. I think more of this work around centering things around the learner and the employers and the skills needed to connect those two is really where this comes in. And then we've got Idaho Launch. Our Workforce Development Council has a statewide initiative that really helps students, high school seniors specifically, to pursue education and training programs that lead to identified in-demand careers. So we have a categorization process that categorizes these careers as in demand, and then Launch covers up to 80% of tuition and fees, up to $8,000 for programs tied to these workforce needs.
Can you repeat that for the audience? And where is that coming from?
Yeah, so Idaho Launch covers up to 80% of tuition and fees, up to $8,000 for programs that are tied to these identified in-demand careers in Idaho. It is such a cool program. And I'm happy to connect with the folks who really take that on, and I can share that information as well. Students are really able to choose their programs too, based on these identified in-demand career pathways. And so that includes training providers from technical schools to community colleges and state universities with just a small little eligibility criteria.
That is amazing work.
Yeah.
It's a lot to digest. I know you guys have done a lot of work, a lot of people involved. You were, though, the cornerstone and the one that was most in attendance and helped us through this process. Anything else you want to share with the group?
I'm just so honored to be able to be a part of this work, talking about skills and elevating the human and the learner and centering it around how we can better our communities and our workforce is so deeply rooted in who I am and what I want to do. So I think it's just so exciting that I get to be a part of this and share with you all. And I'm honored to be here.
And we're honored to have you, my dear. Thank you so very much for making time.
Yes, thank you so much, Lori.
That's where it ends. If you would, Kelly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you are.
Let's get back to our PowerPoint. All right. First, I'd like to thank everybody who spoke this afternoon. Amazing, amazing work from all of you. Jeff and Sarah and Jennifer from Lake County. Excellent work. Thank you to our last speaker coming through. Taylor did an amazing job. I'm so thankful we were able to provide that for you. Also, Jessica, wonderful for picking that up for Colorado. And this is the entire community of practice. Many, as I say, 5 states, but you can see the large population from Colorado that worked with us. Lake County, you guys were wonderful and so committed. And also everybody else on here. It was just a great experience. Next slide. And we also want to thank our advisory committee. To the left, you see all these fabulous organizations that have met with us quarterly throughout this process. We will continue meeting with our advisory committee. Many of those groups are also on a skills journey. Many are funded to do different parts of the journey, and you have a few on here who are actually developing their own learning and employment records. We also thank our partners, people who were contracted to help us with this. Education Design Lab was phenomenal, from Naomi Boyer, Laura Faulkner, who held up back in March, helped us hold the original session at Forum, and then Colin Reynolds, who saw us through the entire process. And Colin provided us with some additional paper that you will be seeing. And Dr. Kelly Page. Kelly, we wouldn't have made it without you today, my dear. The Learning What You Love Studio LLC, and so appreciative of Walmart.org. They've put a lot of money and a lot of emphasis in this to help the entire United States to figure out how skills can help more people enter the workforce, help people sustain their jobs, and how employers can use skills to hire people. I think it's very critical to our future workforce. Next slide. This is upcoming events. And let me just start with, not on this chart, but I want you to stay tuned, watch this space for much more information. As I mentioned, Kelly, she is doing a toolkit that will help all of our member boards to navigate skills. It will include probably this video, probably the original report that I wrote back in the last year. It'll also include some of Colin's work and any of the things we've been able to pick up from surveys and from all of our members of the community of practice. We're also going to be sharing this fall a bigger portion of this project, letting you know where we go from here as NAWB. And coming up as non-skill activity, Vision Partners in October. And I love this new topic. How do they do it? I think, guys, we started the how do you do it with this one today, but it's telling the story through data, telling the story about fundraising. And I think they've added one now telling the story about becoming a 501c3, how it pertains to becoming an incorporated entity. And I had the privilege of running a 501c3 my 34 years in Dallas and participating in the one in Houston. It's a fabulous situation for boards and for private fundraising, but it does take skill, and it takes a really good finance person and a legal person to get you through it. The big item on here was launched yesterday, so you're right on time. March 23rd to 26th in 2026 will be the Forum, this year in Las Vegas. I think if you're a member, you may have gotten notice that there's early registration benefits and a reduced cost. Next slide. And that's our thank you. I'm Lori Boyan-Lorea, Senior Advisor for NAWB. I can't thank this group enough. I am very pleased to have been a part of the skills journey and the community of practice. Appreciate everything you're doing out here, guys. And I know how tough the work is. I've done it myself for many years, and they just don't make it any easier on us. Let's hope there's no shutdown, and let's hope if there is, it is quite a modest shutdown. I will tell you, in the old days, we did have shutdowns that lasted multiple days. Let's hope this one is minor and successful for our country. Thank you, everyone, for being with us this afternoon. We appreciate you. See you next time.
Thank you, Laurie. Thank you for all the work and support for everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.